Matters with Scott tomorrow.
Next week, as we come together for Labor Day cookouts, no one should forget the reason we're celebrating. Our unions have always fought for better conditions and support so everyone can succeed. And that fight continues today. OEA is proud to help Ohio's educators use their voices together to make our public schools great.
Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
Cybersecurity attacks can cripple and even force a small business to close. Does your organization have a focused approach to being cyber resilient? If you can't answer yes, you should contact Omni Strategic Technologies to help you identify the steps to protect your data and reputation from the very real cyber threats that exist today. Schedule your free consultation by calling Omni at 304-242-7600 or online at omniperforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only cybersecurity firm that the Watchdog trusts.
When deciding where to dine in the Ohio Valley, think first of the Highlands, with a full array of quick service choices from McDonald's, Wendy's, Five Guys, Taco Bell, Jersey Mike's, Jimmy John's, Chick-fil-A, or DeCarlo's Pizza. Or you can dine in at Eden Park, Primanti Brothers, Texas Roadhouse, El Paso, or Quaker Steak and Lube. Whatever your family's in the mood for, you can find it just off I-70 at the top of the hill. The Highlands, dining, shopping, entertainment, and lodging.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Partly to mostly sunny skies, a high near 78. Mainly clear skies through the evening hours with a low near 58 degrees. For your Thursday, mostly sunny skies and a high near 82 degrees. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack, and you may find yourself in another part of the world, and you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile, and you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
And I don't know how you got here, but I'm glad you are. I'm Butch Maxwell. Welcome to Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime here for Wednesday, August 31st. Don't want to push it too much here. Just back off from a week away from California, and I'm sorry I missed you last week, but I'm really glad to be back. Hello, Lola. How are you?
I am well, and I'm glad you're back too, Butch.
Oh, I had such a good time. I visited with my grandchildren, and that's about it. Just did that. We went to the zoo, which in San Diego is fabulous. But we went with, of course, with two children. One who was just barely 2, and the other's even younger. So, we didn't really cover a lot of ground, but we actually did walk around a good bit, and I got to be, the grandfather and stuff, which was really good.
Grandpa.
Yep. See, my granddaughter calls me Poppy.
Poppy. Oh, I like that.
Poppy. So, and it's really easy to say. It was a good choice. When my daughter was pregnant, she called me, called all the family members basically, and said, "What do you want your grandchild to say or call you?" And of course, then her mother, her grandmother said, "Oh, I want to be Grandy." I'm like, why not Grammy? Big Grandy. Okay. So anyway, it seemed like a lot of the names, but by the time she got around to me, it seemed like there weren't
all the good ones.
Yeah, all the good ones were taken. It's like the band names. All the good band names are taken. So she said, "What do you want the child to call you?" And I said, "How about Frank?" And She didn't go for that. So I chose Poppy, and it actually turned out well because it's a really easy name to say. So Mommy, I had a lot of Mama and Dada and Poppy, you know, so pretty good, pretty cool. Anyway, had a great time. Glad to be back with you. This week, on this week's show, I've just got one item on my agenda, and this is something that's I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think I just decided, I think on the airplane back here, I think, you know what, I'm going to talk about one thing today, one thing only. It's what we should do about this dysfunctional government. And I'm thinking that what major kind of radical thing that I could put forth, and I would suggest to you, maybe the solution might be a new constitution. We ought to rewrite the Constitution. So, you know, you can put this out like they do in debates. Proposed, the U.S. should come up with a new Constitution, should rewrite the new Constitution. Now, I'm going to lay my case out here over the next hour, but I don't want to dominate the conversation. You are welcome to call in and tell me where I'm wrong, or tell me where I'm right, or tell me what I forgot, or whatever your thoughts on it are. And our number is provided by Frio and Stack Auction Services. The hotline is 214-1600. That would be first area code, 304-214-1600. If you're out of town and you need a toll-free number, then we have that too. It's 866-514-1600. So that's how you can call and complain with, or whatever, contribute to the conversation. We have a call now. Who do we have there?
Yes, we do. It's Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright, all right. How are you, Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I just almost threw up in my mouth a little bit when you said that.
Yeah, what? About
rewriting the Constitution.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at all. Tell me why I'm wrong, Mr. Wright.
Okay, so we want to implement all the wokeism in the world, and we want to implement that there's no males and females in the world, and who knows where it goes from there.
I didn't really talk about anything about the content of the Constitution yet, or anything.
It will be.
Okay, all right.
And we might as well throw in, you don't need an ID vote.
All right. Well, I can tell these are all items that you would like to have addressed, and I'll tell you, I think that is legitimate.
Well, no, I don't think they really need to be addressed. It's just stupid that the world thinks about this kind of stuff.
What I think about are big things. Would you like to know what some of my complaints about the United States Constitution? Just a few, and we don't have to do.
You have at least a 2-hour radio show,
Oh,
right?
I have 1 hour. It's not really a lot of time, so it's going to be problematic. But let's see. I'll pick out a couple of things that I think are big, and then you might. Well, I know one we could disagree on immediately is the Second Amendment, because I don't think that our Constitution ought to be a suicide pact. That the totally unfettered gun regulation is not the way to go, that we actually need a different conversation about guns. Now, I don't say we should take all guns away either. What I'm saying is we need to have a conversation about what's reasonable. And do you think that we could sit down and reasonably agree on what makes sense rather than just, the militia being necessary to a safe union, no law shall be passed to restrict the rights to bear firearms. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I'm going to probably agree with you there, but let me just, a little story about this past weekend. I had my 40th year class reunion last weekend.
Okay, congratulations.
Hooked up with a friend of mine that I stay in touch with, but I've never been to his new house before.
Mm-hmm.
He takes us into this, I'm going to call it a bunker.
Oh, wow.
It's this, a room in his, we're going to call it the cabin area of his property.
Uh-huh.
Cement, it's a storm bunker, plus he had, if I say tons of weapons, that might be an overstatement, but then again, it could be an understatement, depending on what kind of weapons you think is a ton. Yeah. And he has rifles, handguns, and he's an avid hunter.
Uh-huh.
And him and his friends that hunt on his property, they store their guns in this room. When you go into it, the door going into it is like the vault at West Bank. I mean, there's this huge, big safe door that you don't even know is there because it's behind a concealed wall.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he had I've never seen in person an AR-15 rifle before.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask if he had those, yeah.
Yep, they had like 4 of them in there. I'm like, what do you need these for? He
Uh-huh.
said, well, we just have them. We don't really ever use them. I said, so are you ready here for the apocalypse?
Yeah.
He's like, no, not really. But, I said, the government wants to take some of these guns away from you. And he said, hey, I don't have an issue with that. But if they want to take them away from me, they need to buy them from me. I'm not just going to give them to them.
Well, that makes sense. He paid money for them, and I think it's in.
And I don't know what a gun like that costs.
I don't either.
I mean, my guess is more than $1,000.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said they had like 4 of them. And, he said, there's a couple times he went out in the woods to shoot deer, and the deer did have Kevlar vests on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Second Amendment, that's something that probably needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
Give me a couple more things so we can waste your whole hour.
So, okay, yeah, sure. The Electoral College, it's imbalanced. It might have made sense and here's the objection to it. It puts way too heavy of a balance on states and on rural states where there aren't nearly as many voters. And it seems like if we have a national election with somebody who is, the president and the vice president, certainly, they represent everybody equally, all across the country. All of our votes ought to count equally. But the difference with the Electoral College is someone in California, the most populous state, is way underrepresented as opposed to somebody in say, Wyoming, which is one of the least populated states. So don't you think one man...
You said California is way underrepresented?
Yes, according to population anyway, in the weighting for presidential elections. I mean, it just seems to me that it ought to be a popular vote, period. Popular vote. The Electoral College was really, it was anti-democratic to begin with.
You're going back to the Hillary thing, where she won the popular vote, but she didn't win the Electoral College.
Well, actually, there have been several times when twice during our lifetimes. It happened also
I'm only like 10.
Bush and Gore too. Gore won the popular election, but Bush received the electoral win, and that happened with Trump and Hillary too. So
I must be I don't understand then the electoral vote, because my thinking was, from what I've gathered over my lifetime of being here on this earth, that Electoral College was designed to make it more fair, because the states with the more population had the more electoral votes, and the states with the least population has less. So that the population per capita in a state really didn't influence the election that much.
Well, it is that way in theory, but in practice, it's turned out to be something incredibly different. And it's something this is a lot of my problem with the Constitution, is not that isn't a great document, because it certainly is, but it's 224 years old, and at the time, just as we were talking about firearms, at the time, I think the high-tech firearms had just been developed around that time, were something called, they were a rifle, a sword, but mostly it was muskets in those days. So nobody had thought of ARs.
It was the Daniel Boone kind of guys.
Yeah, and they would have been, I think their minds would have been blown by an AR-15 or something like that. So they would have certainly been a lot more careful about writing the Second Amendment. I think it's time that we look at it and write a new Second Amendment that works, that makes sense, that doesn't allow anybody to have anything they want, but has reasonable restrictions. But also, if we want to allow for hunting and other sport, and I don't have a problem with that.
Like in talking with you about my friend's bunker, I don't know a whole lot about weapons. I've never been hunting in my life, and I just said, hey, what makes this gun the gun that people want to ban?
Yeah.
And he told me the only thing that, well, there's probably more than that, but he said it holds a magazine. I can put like 32 rounds in this gun versus another gun that holds only 8 rounds.
Yeah.
But it still only fires. It ain't like you pull the trigger and it goes bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
It only fires as quick as you can pull the trigger.
Right, yeah.
But I'm sure these people that use these guns as weapons to kill people or whatever, they probably modify them and put automatic things in them. I mean, I don't know that, but
Yeah, there's
It's only
something
gonna
called a
fire
bump
as fast as
stock,
you can pull
and
the trigger. You don't have to cock it every time. You can
Right.
just pull the trigger and it'll shoot.
right. It's
But
still
it has a 32 round magazine in it versus an 8 or 16 or whatever.
so you can probably kill 30 or pump out 32 shots in 32 seconds or so, I imagine.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think you probably could.
Yeah.
Unless my friend's been drinking when he shoots it, then it might take him like 40 seconds.
Yeah, and the accuracy might not be so good, but
There
you know,
you go. You got some survival rate.
yeah.
I mean, that's a sad thing to say, but yes, you're exactly right.
So your friend with the bunker, I mean, you know, again, if it's just for sports and fun and recreation, I totally get that. But you know, if he's building up an arsenal for the apocalypse, as you suggest, or for when the Proud Boys go, you know, rushing in to take over the Capitol, I think a little differently about that.
You know, and I mentioned to him about, you know, a storm bunker, and he said, hey, we've never used it as a storm bunker, but if you can recall, like when a month or so ago, when that storm came through here and knocked out Wheeling Park and Stam Lane and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that storm went through his property about, I'm going to say 3 hours before it hit here. And he lost over 150 trees on his property. He said that's the first time that him and his wife ever went into the bunker to seek shelter.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him. I would be too. Yeah, that was.
So on that sense, it came in handy for that.
Yeah, definitely. I can totally see that. Well,
But
good.
yeah.
You know what? I'm really pleased that you and I have found a lot of room to agree here today. So that's really good. You want to talk about
Well,
another?
that's going to change soon, probably.
Well, I'm sure it will. Yeah, I mean, you know, we could pick something to disagree about, but we found common
disagreed
ground.
many a time.
Yeah. Oh, do we? Okay.
We have, yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so I pulled out the big one, and you and I found some common ground on that too. And really, I could go through my top 10 reasons, or I could just point out a couple of others here. Okay, here's one thing that I think we need to address is the pardon clause. This idea was that the president could show mercy to people who've suffered long enough, or whose trials were doubtful, or maybe legal standards changed. But what we have now, and what we've had over the last, every president since I've been alive, I think, except I think it's trending worse, at least that's my perception of it, is they start pardoning, you know, their cronies, their buddies, and things like that after they do heinous things, and they do it a lot of times on the very last day in office. You know, we weren't thinking things through when we created that power. And
Whatever happened to just, hey, let's pardon these 2 turkeys and be done with it.
Yeah, that would be enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, okay.
Sorry, dude, you screwed up. You're in prison. Sorry, there ain't nothing I can do to help you.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
You know, and the business that I'm in is I deal with federal prisons all over the country. Not that I want to see federal prisoners in prison, but hey, the more prisoners, the better for my business.
Yeah, I suppose I can understand your perspective there. You want to talk about one more before we go to a break? There's I see a huge problem with the Senate too, and it's really a lot like the Electoral College. This goes back to the origins of the country when you know, there were small colonies and larger colonies, and the smaller ones feared that the larger ones with more population and more land mass, et cetera, would dominate them. So when they constructed when around in 1787 or thereabouts, they began to write the Constitution. They decided to have 2 legislative branches, not just one. And it was sort of modeled after the English system, where you have a House of Lords and House of Commons, kind of an upper house and a lower house. And,
Well, you're way more smarter than me naming all that stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, what I'm saying, you know now that we have a House of Representatives and a Senate, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the House of Representatives is population control, you know. So, you know, the idea is, you know, you have more people in your state, then you get to divide it up into different sections to represent so many people. And so one representative represents a population. Well, the Senate is 2 senators per state, period. So again, Wyoming counts just as much as New York or California or Florida. And that might have made sense early on, but no, it doesn't really. Now, if we're really talking about what we have is a representative democracy, then we should be democratically represented. So it's not fair that, a senator in, say, Liz Cheney in Wyoming or she's not a senator, she's a congressperson, sorry. But a senator from Wyoming has just as much equal power representing far fewer people than a senator from California or something like that. What do you think? I think we have to have that fixed. And we also have to fix the filibuster too, which is not in the Constitution, but it's another reason why Congress is broke.
I'm speechless.
Okay, all right, that's okay. Okay, that's okay.
And trust me, that doesn't happen often.
Well, okay. Well, I guess I'm going to...
Ask Lola.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'll
She's
agree
probably
with
taking
that.
a nap right now.
Okay, well, that's okay. You've contributed greatly to the conversation. I do appreciate it. And at some later date, when we're not just talking about the Constitution, I'll talk to you about what woke means to me and so-called political correctness. I hate both of those terms. Because my theory is, I'll just give it to you in a nutshell. My theory is it's simply showing respect to people who deserve respect, and I bet you and I can agree on this too.
I mean, yeah, show people respect. But at the same time, I mean, for how many decades and years? I mean, science shows there's two things: male and female. And if I say, I mean, I'm 5'10". But if I want to identify as a 6'4" person, I mean, in today's world, you're allowed to do that. I mean, that's really being kind of vague. But I mean, you can identify as whatever you want to be.
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, nothing against the people, I don't think. But that's not how the world is.
Well, I mean, what if you're...
It's a whole new can of worms. I'm sorry.
It is a new can of worms, and I'd be happy to get into that with you sometime, because I do have some, I understand, the anxiety that what would they call cis people, people who don't have gender confusion or sexual identity, and confusion's the wrong word too, but any of those issues, let me put it that way. It's hard for folks to understand that, and I do have some sympathy, and maybe it will help you with it.
Let's go deeper. Why do they have those issues?
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody's pushing it on them. I mean, I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it depends largely on the circumstances of the individual. It's probably different with everybody, but that is an interesting question, and probably that would call for bringing in a psychologist or somebody with much greater expertise than me.
That's a good reason. My daughter's going to school. She wants to she's studying psychology.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, really, there's really no need for that in today's world. Why are you doing that?
Why,
being as sarcastic
no,
as I can.
I see. Okay, yeah, okay. Sometimes it's hard to see the tongue in your cheek over the telephone,
exactly.
But great. Hey, thank you so much for your call. It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, stay safe out there.
Okay, you too, and call back again sometime soon. All right. You are wasting a perfectly good hour with Butch Maxwell right here on the Watchdog Network. We're going to take a break in a second, but Lola, has anything occurred to you? I haven't let you pipe in yet, and has anything occurred to you about what we've been talking about?
Oh, there's so many things.
So many.
Yeah. The Electoral College is one of the things that's been a burr on my side for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was something that you guys were talking about, but you moved on and I lost it.
Sorry.
Crud.
Well, we talked about the Second Amendment, and we talked about pardons, and we talked about the Senate and the Electoral College. Those were the main things that I brought up. Well, you know what? We're going to keep talking about it if it comes back to you after the break.
I'll go and try and...
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't matter. You'll come up with a new idea that'll be just fine, too. So we will take a break, and when we come back, we are going to continue. Your calls are still welcome. What I am going to do is come back with my top 10 reasons. I'll do it David Letterman style and count down backwards. Top 10 reasons why the United States needs a new Constitution and also try to address reasons that I hear that we shouldn't do this. But we'll do that. We'll do that right after the break. You're listening to the Watchdog Network, and we'll be right back.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash, powered by the Score app on the Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. We're closing in on a week away from the start of the NFL season, and Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin says that the Steelers, at least right now, are not naming a starting quarterback.
Who's to say it's not settled? I'm just not making any announcements because it's fruitless for us. We just got work ahead of us, and so that's not kind of on our agenda to make any announcements to feed the beast. We don't care about the beast.
The Steelers are preparing for their season opener, which is September 11th, when they travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals in week number 1. College football action tomorrow night. 17th ranked Pittsburgh is at home. They'll host West Virginia in the backyard brawl to kick off the season. For lightning fast sports updates as they happen, download the free Score app today. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by the Score app on the Watchdog.
JCPenney is helping hardworking families across America save even more all Labor Day weekend. That's right, we got you. Celebrate a 4-day super savings weekend with 20% off already great prices. Plus, save an extra 10% across the store. That's extra savings in addition to our huge end of summer deals. Grab your coupon on the JCP app and save all you want. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon required and valid on select styles 9.2 to 9.5. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
If you work remote, Staples has you covered.
Stylish office decor to turn my finished basement into a complete workspace solution.
Staples has you covered.
A desk that's all business, but not too businessy.
Staples has you covered. And now at Staples, take up to 50% off select chairs and up to 75% off select desks. Plus, with 25% off Staples furniture support, we'll assemble your new furniture and guarantee it against wear and defects. Explore solutions for your remote workspace at Staples. Ends 9/3 in store.
Introducing our new redesigned 7 News app. Our new app features a sleek, modern design, an easy-to-navigate home screen with quick access to local news content and a localized weather forecast. Subscribing to notifications is easier, and with one tap, you have access to recent push notifications. There are more ways to watch and find video. To get the new WTRF 7 News app, just update the latest version or download the WTRF 7 News app in your Apple or Google Play Store by searching WTRF.
Hey, high school football fans, if you want to see where your team ranks every week, check out the Thornhill Auto Group Power Rankings at WVMetroNews.com. Every Sunday evening, we will update the football Power Rankings. To find out where your favorite team ranks, go to WVMetroNews.com. Click on the High School Sports tab and then High School Football Power Rankings. The 2022 Metro News Power Rankings presented by Thornhill Auto Group. The road to total savings starts with Thornhill. Visit them on the Thornhill Motor Mile.
The Highlands Sports Complex is the Ohio Valley's most exciting place to play. A state-of-the-art facility offering fun for the whole family with a climbing wall, arcade, indoor turf, hardwood courts, classes and camps for kids and adults. Plus, you can take a break in the on-site cafe. Learn more online at hitthehighlands.com, or better yet, stop in and visit the Highlands Sports Complex at the top of the hill off I-70.
Cybersecurity attacks can cripple and even force a small business to close. Does your organization have a focused approach to being cyber resilient? If you can't answer yes, you should contact Omni Strategic Technologies to help you identify the steps to protect your data and reputation from the very real cyber threats that exist today. Schedule your free consultation by calling Omni at 304-242-7600 or online at omniperforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only cybersecurity firm that the Watchdog trusts.
Once again, Toyota is the best resale value brand according to Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com. So stop waiting and check out a new Camry, available with all-wheel drive and a 24-valve V6 engine, delivering an impressive 301 horsepower. Or check out a stylish Venza with an all-hybrid powertrain and 40 miles per gallon. Visit buyatoyota.com and reserve yours today. Toyota, let's go places.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
Hi, I'm Bill DeFabio for ARH, Washington County's largest gun show, Saturday and Sunday, September 24th and 25th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Buy, sell, trade. Admission just $8 for adults. Children 12 and under, free with an adult. All types of firearms, modern, military, and antique, and a large selection of knives. Cash buyers on site for your used guns. Free appraisals, free parking. Call 724-948-3571.
Pine Room Podcast is coming right here to the Watchdog every Monday at 2 o'clock. Covering sports from around the region, we'll be taking deep dives into your favorite high school, college, and NFL teams. On WKKX and WVLY, tune in to the Pine Room.
And we're back for the second half of Butch Maxwell's complete waste of airtime here on Wednesday, August 31st, the very end of August. I want to tell you about a couple things coming up here on the Watchdog Network tomorrow on the morning show with Howard Monroe. He's going to have Chuck Wood on, and Chuck is a Wheeling resident who worked on the Apollo lunar programs. He's going to, of course, be discussing with Howard and Bob the return to the moon and maybe Mars at some point. So that's on the morning show, along with Scott Nolte on the Backyard Brawl. And then on Friday, Howard intends to have Bill Ehlenfeld, the U.S. attorney, and he's going to be talking with him about the fentanyl and the opioid crisis around the Ohio Valley. So good local stuff coming up on Howard Monroe's show. And I do know that, tomorrow, right here on this same bat time, same bat station, Paul Harris will be filling in for Bill DeFabio between 12 and 3 right here. And then we've got West Virginia versus Pitt at 3:30
Yes, the
tomorrow.
Backyard Brawl is finally tomorrow.
There we go. That's at 3:30 p.m. So you're
4 o'clock.
Oh,
They've
4 o'clock?
changed
They've changed it?
pregame to 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So
All right, good.
we'll have that at 4.
All right, that's pretty exciting. Then, of course, the Matt Jones Auto Pre-Owned Friday afternoon walkthrough that begins at 3 o'clock right here on the Watchdog Network on both stations. And then Saturday, we've got ONN Sports Magazine starting at 6 a.m. if you're an early riser on the weekends. Metro's Scoreboard at 8:30, and Paul Harris's Sports Huddle starting at 9. It's 9 to noon right here on the Watchdog Network. So that's all my promo stuff I've got. That's all I know about what's going on, but I did want to get that in because I love cross-promotion. We have been talking about the possibility of coming up with a new constitution, and this is not totally my idea. This is what Thomas Jefferson said. Some men look at the constitutions with sanctimonious reverence and deem them like the Ark of the Covenant, too sacred to be touched. They ascribe to the men of a preceding age a wisdom more than human and suppose what they did to be beyond amendment. I am certainly not an advocate for frequent and untried changes in laws and constitutions, but I also know that laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. We might as well require a man to still wear the coat which fitted him when he was a boy, as civilized society to remain ever under the regime of their barbarous ancestors. That is Thomas Jefferson. So he himself said, every generation we should write a new constitution. So if you're at all, too reverent about this, don't be. Respect the founding fathers, but don't revere them. He also said, the earth belongs to the living, not the dead. And with that, we'd go to our first call. Who we have here,
All right.
Wade?
Yes, here we have Wade. Tom, just hold on, you're
Yeah,
next.
Tom, you're up next. Wade, how are you?
Fine, good afternoon. Hey, the Electoral College was put in place to placate the gentleman farmers who voted at the time.
Yeah.
Women didn't vote, blacks didn't vote,
Right.
poor people didn't vote.
No, you had to own property.
You had to be a property owner and a white man.
Yep. And
Now, 160 some years later, everyone's vote should count, and that's why we need the popular vote,
yes.
not the Electoral College, which is a relic from the past.
Totally agree with you, Wade. I totally agree with you,
right.
Wade. Thank you so much for your input. I do appreciate
You're
your
welcome,
insight.
sir.
All right. Let's talk to Tom. Hey, Tom, how are you over here?
Geez, that was it.
That was. Oh, Wade can be very succinct. He has a point and he wants to make it, and I don't disagree with anything he said.
Oh, no, I agree. I couldn't have said it better. You know, I've learned in talk radio you got to be brief because you don't always get the chance to
That's
get
true.
all your ideas across.
And get the most important one in first.
Well, when you're texting, you have to learn because you don't want to sit there and try to type.
Yeah.
You want to kind of cut to the chase.
Right.
Maybe they should have read maybe lawyers should talk that way. Maybe we wouldn't understand what the heck they're writing on 3,000 pages of law. But I think they should ban drug ads from television. At least. It used to be they put them in the backs of Reader's Digest or something, for starters, because that can't help the price.
You're right.
They're spending $10 billion a year. I mean, they'd have to do away with free TV then. They'd have to go back to catheter commercials and stuff like that then, I guess. But,
Yeah, I'm not even sure those should be advertised, but okay, yeah.
well, I mean, I don't think you got a whole lot of choice when it comes to catheter.
True, yeah.
But on the AR-15s and stuff, maybe they should just, if you're a dealer and you're stuck with them, you're stuck with them.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell them anymore,
Yeah.
and you're allowed to keep the ones you have.
Yeah, maybe that's
Still
the
buy ammo and stuff. Maybe not this crazy ammo, the hollow point stuff.
Yeah, that could be that could be a solution. I think. You know. Go ahead.
I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear you.
Well, I didn't really have that much more to add
All
to
right.
that, other than the fact that if you're not some kooky gun owner that's got 27 of them already, that we don't want to come and kick your door in or anything. But if you're some kid that's on the verge of killing 30 people, maybe you need another 6 years to think about it.
That's
Go steal one or something.
totally makes sense. And for those who are arming themselves to protect themselves from the government, keep this in mind: the government will always outman and outgun you. Always. So
And I've told you this before. My brother, armed, he built weapons. He built M16s for the special ops in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I used to be real proud of that, but
not so much anymore.
And we shouldn't get into half of these crazy wars. And we've got no business telling Venezuela that they're out of line, and just because we want their oil, we could care less about Venezuela if they weren't sitting on more oil than the rest of the world. And stuff.
You're right. Money rules the world. Hey,
And
thanks.
I'm done.
Oh, well, I thought maybe you were, and I got another call, and I want to try to get everybody in.
That's cool. I just got my licks in. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, hey, call me back again, Tom. Thank you. All right, who else do we have here?
This is Larry.
Larry, how are you, Larry?
Well, I are fine.
Are you
My goodness, it's a beautiful day. How could anybody be anything less than wonderful today?
I'll go with that. Yeah.
Okay, I just made that up. But listen, new U.S. Constitution, is that what you were?
That's what we're talking about. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, to me, that would be like, let's rewrite the Ten Commandments. I mean, come on, that was 2,000 year ago stuff. Oh, thou shalt not steal. Oh, come on. This is the 21st century. Thou shalt not covet thy, and goes on.
No,
But, no, you don't want to rewrite the Ten Commandments, and you don't want to rewrite the U.S. Constitution.
Well, I did kind of expect this argument, and I understand your feeling on it, that you feel But people feel reverent about their religion, and I understand that, I get that, and that's fine. You know, that's the place for reverence. When it comes to public policy and government, this is how we all agree to conduct our society. It's an agreement. That's the idea of a republic, is we come to an agreement. But we're operating on an agreement that is the second oldest functioning constitution in the world. The only one that's older, and it's only slightly older, is a very, very small country in Europe whose name I forget at the moment. But we are coming up on what would be called
Liechtenstein?
It's not that, but it's like that. It's as small as Monaco, I think, but it's not Monaco. Anyway. Monaco. Sorry. I get excited. Yeah, I do. I kind of do too. It sounds good. But okay, I'm going to try to pronounce this word, sesquicentennial. That's what we're coming up on, you know, if we count the sesquicentennial, the 250th anniversary as July 4th. Yeah, sesquicentennial. We'll probably start hearing that pretty soon. But that will be in 2026 if we say July 24th. That's the 250th anniversary of our country. Wouldn't it be great if we could start to talk about, you know, doing a new constitution based on what we've got now, but given our insight of 250 years, say, you know what, you know, it's been a quarter of a millennia. Why don't we try and by, say, 2037, which would be the 250th anniversary of the present constitution, we have a new one. I mean, is that reasonable?
People are always wanting to change things because they want it just the way they want it. That's like, for instance, I don't know why this is coming to me, but the pill for women, you know, that was, it was okay there to give to 12-year-old girls. Hey, you might as well give them the pill because we can't control them, and you can't. What's wrong is wrong, and it'll be wrong 1,000 years from now. What's right is right, and it'll be right 1,000 years from now.
Well, I can't disagree with you on that. Lola, you had an idea here?
Good.
Well, it's just,
Good. I
you know.
didn't have a rebuttal.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it, and I always enjoy hearing from different points of view, and yours is well respected.
I always like hearing from you every day. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lola, you had some thoughts here?
Well, going back to this idea,
We got another call coming in.
well, just hold on,
Yeah.
caller. Going back to you know what was said earlier about holding these things to be so reverent in this first document, without taking into any kind of idea about social norms changing, about mores changing. We've just gone through this.
Yeah.
When Justice Thomas wrote his opinion doing away with Roe v. Wade, and I'm not even going to talk about that particular thing. But what did he do? He fell back on stuff that was written in the 1700s to enhance his argument for doing away with this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, well, like you said, or you quoted, are you going to put a boy back in his jacket because it's, you know, it represents what he was at 10?
Right.
It's time, the world progresses, and now Larry's right, right is right, wrong is wrong. But we need the idea of what perhaps is the norm has changed greatly.
Yeah.
And you can't keep governing. That's what happened to oh boy, here we go. So many civilizations over the years, the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, any of your monarchies from the 1500s on up until they basically chopped everybody's heads off because they didn't change. They didn't change with the times until there was an actual physical revolution. And that's why we fought the revolution in this country, was because the things that were coming out of England did not represent us. Well, I'm sorry to say, That Constitution, while it does represent an awful lot, does not necessarily reflect the way that society and our attitudes are today.
Very good. Yes, I
Thank you.
totally agree, and that's excellent. So before we get to the next call, I'm going to go through, as promised, my top 10 reasons why the U.S. needs the Constitution, and then I'll take that call and we'll continue the conversation a little bit. I'm going to give you a bonus. First of all, my number 11 in my top 10 reasons is it was written by rich old white guys. Jefferson.
Wait, isn't that who's still running the country? Rich old white guys?
Exactly, it's still happening. So this is kind of a throwaway in that, but they were slave owners. There were the hypocrisy of men who wrote all men are created equal, and then it's got to ring hollow for women, for people of color, for Native Americans, for so many of the disenfranchised. But those people were brilliant and deserving of our respect, but not our reverence. That's different. I got to tell you, Moses did not sign the Declaration of Independence, and Jesus did not write the Constitution. So the reverence to these documents are misplaced. So number 10, enumerated rights. There aren't enough. They haven't been explained enough, and they fit for 250 years ago. But say, what about the right to health care? Do we have a right to health care? Most civilized countries seem to think that that the people have a right to health care, but the United States doesn't recognize that as a right. It needs to be in the Constitution. The 11th Amendment, that's just a mess. I'm just going to say this. It just says that nobody from another state can sue somebody, sue another state. That's stupid. Anti-corruption. There's certainly not enough anti-corruption measures. Anybody who watched the last election cycle and watched what happened knows that corruption is horrifying. Privacy. Number 7 is privacy. There's no right to privacy in the Constitution. We just saw this. Lola just brought it up. The 14th Amendment was thought to do that, but now maybe not. So now same-sex marriage, even mixed-race marriages, they may not be protected. Contraception, et cetera. Speaking of privacy, the 4th Amendment was designed to protect against searches and seizures, but you know what torpedoed that? The Patriot Act. So we need to reinforce our privacy. Number 6, pardons. This is the idea that the president could show mercy to somebody who maybe had a bad time or something, but it turned into a travesty of cronyism. Number 5, greed. There is no limit to the money of power in politics. Lobbyists influence legislation in ways that could not have been predicted in 1789. The Supreme Court has ruled that money is free speech, Citizens United, and that corporations must be treated as citizens. And then there's that stupid amendment that Congress passed after 200 years about their own congressional salaries. They cannot handle greed. It's just not working. Term limits is my number 4 reason. Lifetime appointments in the 18th century meant something very different than they do today. So Supreme Court justices and federal judges should serve something like an 18-year term, not lifetime appointments. Senators and representatives should be term limited too, just as our presidents are. My number 3 reason, Second Amendment. We've talked about this already, so I'm not going to go too much into depth on that, but the Second Amendment needs to be rewritten. I'm not talking about banning the Second Amendment or abolishing it. All I'm doing is saying let's rewrite it so it makes sense. Number 2, unbalanced representation. Number 2 reason. And yes, the equality cannot be guaranteed without democratic representation. As Lola pointed out just a moment ago, that's the very reason why we had a revolution, because we didn't have good representation. So while the First Amendment gives us freedom of religion, speech, and assembly, we don't have freedom of access. There's no guarantee of equality. Other than the anti-slavery laws, and even at that, the Jim Crow laws got around that, and we've been struggling with this ever since. We didn't give women the right to vote until the early 20th century. Crazy stuff. We need to fix that. Also, the electoral college system, as I mentioned before, is profoundly undemocratic. The president should be elected by popular vote. The Senate is also profoundly undemocratic. At the very heart of the Constitution is the idea that where people live matters more than what people want. It should be abolished. The Senate should just be abolished, or at least its powers greatly reduced. And there are federal guidelines for how states conduct federal elections. Gerrymandering is a consistent problem, as Lola mentioned, I think, a little bit earlier. So that's it. And my number one reason is it's outdated. It was written in 1787. And I think I can stop there. Let me take our final call before I blow.
Okay,
yes.
it's Durbin.
Hey, Durbin, good. How are you?
All right, old buddy, yourself.
I'm doing well. I'm kind of fired up today, but it's good. I've been having some good calls and good conversation, and so far so good. So
yeah, but that's why I'm worried about you. That's why I called in.
What are you worried about?
Well, I've never heard you wound up like this, and first of all, I was going to ask you, are you smoking?
No, don't smoke anything right at the moment.
There you go. And I think you need to lay off the coffee or something.
You know what? I don't even drink coffee, Durbin. I barely drink alcohol, and that's at night. And I might have one White Claw a day. I'm just not a substance person.
That's great. I mean, hey, I'll tell you what. You need to stay on the radio and keep wound up like this, because I think we found a new Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. At least I can go on for an hour, pretty much. But the callers have been very gracious today, even when we disagreed. And I thought you were going to call in with maybe a disagreement too. And but that's fine if you don't want to. What do you think though about?
What I was going to say to you is, did you ever purchase a gun yourself?
No, I've not.
Okay, well, you got to fill out this form. You used to, years ago, you never had to, but here in the last 25 years or whatever. But you know what? They never ask you on that form. They don't ever ask you why you're purchasing this gun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's not a reason for it, because, you might say, well, I like to hunt, so you're buying a shotgun.
Yeah.
Or, you're buying like a rifle for deer season.
Yeah.
But, to pleasure shoot. Then you got to look at this guy, and he's got, I'm sorry, but a lot of these cats are in black, and they got tattoos, and they got earrings, places you shouldn't have them at. And they're buying an AR-57 or whatever. You know what? You got to look at them, and that person has to be able to say, you know what? I don't think we want to sell you this gun.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why. Now, if he's got a problem with that, then he should be allowed to, go to something or whatever. But, not to you just can't give somebody a gun like that and say, well, go ahead. I mean, but see, that's the problem. We're not allowed to use common sense in this country when it comes to laws.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something, and it sounds a little like profiling. And even though it sounds very reasonable, especially the way you've lined it up here, what if it's some southern redneck or something, and that hates black people, and a black guy who's well groomed, and and he wants, but he wants it for personal protection too, which sets up off a red flag to this white redneck who's profiled him, saying, you know what, I don't think I'm going to sell you a gun. I mean, is that good?
Well, I'm just saying that, there's a reason why I think we have common sense. Now, not everybody has common sense.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the trouble with Washington. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, instead of letting air out of a tire so a truck's going on the bridge.
Gotta go, Durbin. Sorry.
Okay, buddy, you take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The FDA authorized the next phase of COVID boosters today. The updated COVID